I'm going to read chapter 2 from the first Main Street book, and in this chapter, which is told from the point of view of Mary Woolsey, who's an old woman who lives in the town, a number of things are happening. Mary is in town watching the people there. She feels very much an outsider, even though she has lived in the town for her entire life. And this is an introduction to the town of Camden Falls and also to some of the people in it as Mary Woolsey sees them. Old Mary Woolsey sat on a bench in front of Needle and Thread. It was a fine, warm Saturday in June, and she had no customers in the store at the moment. Sometimes, when things were slow, she liked to sit outside, even in cold weather. Evelyn Walter and Min Reed, the owners of the store, didn't mind. Often, one of them would bring her coffee or tea while she sat. Mary knew that lots of people in Camden Falls, especially the children, thought she was strange. They rarely spoke to her unless something needed mending or altering. That was all right with Mary. She liked to sit quietly and watch. She had learned an awful lot about Camden Falls and its people just by watching. For instance, over there was Lydia Malone, who lived next door to Min Reed in the row houses. Lydia was a teenager now, 13 or 14 maybe, and Mary had a strong suspicion that she was going to get into some kind of trouble this summer. It was those kids she'd been hanging around with. And over there was sad Nicky Sherman, who lived way out in the country with that bad news family of hers. Who had brought Nicky into town today? She seemed to be alone. Crossing the street now was kind Mr. Pennington, who also lived in one of the row houses. He tipped his hat to Mary as he walked by. And here came Sonny Sutphin, steering himself awkwardly along the sidewalk, one gloved hand pushing the right wheel on his chair, his left foot dragging on the pavement for reasons Mary didn't understand, since there was nothing wrong with the footrest on the wheelchair. Mary's gaze shifted to the right. She watched as a car turned onto Main Street. The car was towing a U-Haul. Mary recognized the car as Min's. Well then, Mary knew what was happening. Today was the day Min returned to Camden Falls with her 2 granddaughters. Mary shook her head. Sad, those little girls, losing their parents at such a young age. Hard on Min, too. She had lost her daughter. And now, long after raising her own 2 girls, she had 2 more to raise. Mary stood, straightened her skirt, which was really much too heavy for this warm day, and resettled herself on the bench. She fingered the gold necklace she always wore and let her eyes wander up and down Main Street. It was a quiet afternoon in town. Not many people about. Mary's gaze took in cover to cover one of the bookstores, and Zach's, the hardware store with the old wooden floor full of knotholes that the smaller children in town liked to peer through, hoping to see into the basement below. There was Fig Tree, the best restaurant in Camden Falls. Mary had never eaten there, but sometimes on her way to Needle and Thread, she paused to read the menu that was displayed in the glass case outside the door. There was Frank's Beans, the new coffee shop. There were the library, the post office, the real estate agency, and Dr. Malone's dental office. Mary considered Sonny's slow progress along the sidewalk as he passed Camden Falls Art Supply, then College Pizza, then Verbeist's, the dry cleaner, which everyone except the Verbeist mispronounced as very best, and finally Dutch House, the ice cream parlor. Camden Falls, population 14,672, was an old New England town. Not old by, say, European standards, but old for a town in the United States. It was about to celebrate its 350th birthday. Signs announcing the celebration, which would take place the next spring, had already been posted up and down Main Street. There were to be exhibits, a play, a parade, a carnival, fireworks. It all sounded very grand and exciting. Mary knew she would probably not be part of any of it. Mary watched as Min Reed's car approached. It slowed to a stop across the street from Needle and Thread. "Afternoon, Mary," called Min, waving from her window. "Afternoon, Min," replied Mary. "Slow day?" asked Min. Mary nodded. Then she added, "Welcome back." "Thank you. I'll see you next week." The car continued down Main Street. Almost home, Mary thought as she watched the car. Min and her granddaughters were almost home. Left off of Main Street, then right on Aiken Avenue, a wide street shaded by huge old maples and oaks and elms. Most of the houses on Aiken were Victorians and colonials, but one block on the west side of the street, the block on which Min and her neighbors lived, was occupied by a row of 8 attached houses, one long building 3 stories high, built in 1882. They were the only homes of their kind in Camden Falls, and everyone referred to them simply as the row houses. The fourth house from the left, between the Malones and the Walters, was the house belonging to Min Reed, which was about to become the new home of Flora and Ruby Northrup. Mary Woolsey glanced up and down Main Street once more. She tisked at the sight of Nicky Sherman in her dirty, threadbare T-shirt, peering into cover to cover. Then Mary opened the door to needle and thread. It was time to collect her mending and go home.